Talk about what your mental health was like after you returned.
Crazy. Oh my, it was completely crazy because it was like the rules over here, like the rules of life was just so different because you can't do what you did over there. So I remember coming back here, I remember driving like for the first time and somebody cut me off. And if it wasn't for my wife at that time and kids, I probably would have ran into that car because that's what I did overseas. Overseas, if you was in a convoy and the people in that town didn't get out the way, you just ran them over. And so, so you just ran into their cars, knocked them over because we were in trucks. And so when that happened over here, it took everything in me not to run it. And that's just how it took me a while to adjust to driving. And then coming back over here, if you hear like gunshots, gunpowder, you be on edge. If I smell gunpowder, I was on edge. I remember one time working at we were remodeling where we was at, and dude was using a nail gun, and they used gunpowder in nail guns, and I would smell it. I was like, I gotta go home because I just can't concentrate right now because right now I just need to get out and do something. But it was a big adjustment. Somebody piss you off, you can't just shoot at them like you can over there. You just can't start fighting them or hitting them or like you did over there. You had the rules that were completely different. You never could sleep like throughout the night because you never know what was gonna happen. And you was always up, always alert, and you was always ready to go. And then you come here and you sleep and it's quiet, and you lay down and it's quiet. You don't hear, bombs or gunshots or anything. You don't hear none of that type of stuff. You're like, I couldn't sleep. It was hard. It was real hard for me to sleep when I first came here. It's kind of still hard for me to sleep. I sleep with a fan now, and I have what they call tinnitus. I have it ringing in my ears, so the fan kind of distracts you from the tinnitus that I have.
How were you able to adjust?
First of all, I didn't want to come back. If it weren't for my wife and kids, I probably would have stayed. I'd probably be over there to this day. And then when I get back, I run into all this new stuff into this new computer system, and you gotta sit down all day, and I just didn't like it. So I got a job at the railroad, and at the railroad, it was physical. It was physically good for me because my job was to pair up little freight cars, and sometimes I would walk like a mile one direction, a mile back. And so it was physically cool for me because I was actually doing something, and it was mentally cool for me too because nobody was around. So I was able to think to myself, talk to myself, and just be by myself, and with nothing around but trees sometimes. So it was a nice little atmosphere. So working at the railroad really helped me adjust because it was a physical job. I was able to, again, just think all the time. But then that's how I lost my arm. So I ain't gonna say it backfired, but that's kind of what happened there. And that happened like less than a year when I got back from Iraq.
So when people first get to know you, they probably make the assumption that you lost your arm
doing overseas
in war.
Right. And sometimes it feels that way. And I use that to get out of parking tickets a lot too.
Will you tell us the story of how you lost your arm on the railroad? So
I lost my hand on the railroad. It was my hand that got caught between two couplers, is what they call it. It was a regular day working there. I was doing my regular job, and something happened that wasn't supposed to happen. And to this day, the railroad won't take responsibility for it, but I know they did something they weren't supposed to do. Because, and what's really crazy about the railroad is that it's a really dangerous job because those cars are very, very quiet, and you do not hear them moving at all. And so my job was to couple freight cars, and if it was, sometimes the couplers stick, sometimes they would break, and you would have to do this little thing with your hand and stuff like that to get them out. And so I was I had took all the necessary precautions, made sure that the car behind me wasn't moving. And the way they teach you how to do it is like you put a little stick or something in it to make sure it doesn't roll. But it rolled somehow, and don't nobody know why. But and so while I was fixing it, the other car came up and crushed my hand between the two couplers. And if you like Google railroad couplers, you kind of see how they fit, and my hand was crushed inside there. I remember, so I was in the ambulance, then I passed out or whatever. Then I was in a helicopter, and I passed out or whatever, and then I was in the hospital. So I remember being in those three places very briefly. I mean, like 2 seconds and you gone, another 2 seconds and you gone, then you wake up in the hospital. And so I was in the hospital with my hand gone, and I was in there for about a month, and I had 10 operations on my arm before I was out of there.
How did that accident affect your mental health?
So you go, I really can't remember the mental health part of it. Well, I guess I remember crying a lot. I would sit there and watch commercials and start crying and don't know why. It's like, why am I crying? But I really can't remember a lot about that particular period because I was so so doped up. But I just remember my best friends, 3 of my best friends got me this chair, this little easy chair, and I sat in that chair. If I didn't sit in that chair, I would sleep. I would wake up, go sit in that chair all day in front of the TV and look at certain commercials and cry. I would look at certain talk shows or certain whatever, and if it was anything sad about it, I would be crying. It's like I couldn't control it. And I didn't eat a lot, and I slept all the time. So I really don't remember the mental aspect of it. But at a certain point in time, I got tired of taking all the medication, so I just stopped. I said, I ain't taking this shit, and just flushed it all down the toilet. And like went cold turkey. Wasn't really supposed to, but I did it. And all I could eat was Skittles and Gatorade for probably about a month. I'm eating Skittles and Gatorade. That's all I had a craving for. Everything else I really couldn't taste. And so I did that, and then got back to my old self where I wasn't crying and stuff like a lot more. And then I still don't remember a lot about that, but I just remember I didn't want to be medicated anymore, so I just stopped.
What do you think about therapy?
It is necessary when it's necessary. I think a lot of people can benefit from therapy. I really do.
Could you benefit from therapy?
Now? I don't know about now. Back then, yes. I really could have benefited from therapy from everything I've been through, but now, I mean, it wouldn't hurt, but I wouldn't think it's necessary right now.
What are your thoughts surrounding the controversy behind kneeling?
First of all, I don't understand why it's controversial, because the whole kneeling thing was to bring awareness to what was going on in this country.
What does it mean to you to be a Black veteran?
You kind of feel two ways about it, because with this government, you really can't trust a lot of things that they do. You really can't trust a lot of things that they say, and they manipulate things and twist things to always make it seem like we're in the right, when 9 times out of 10 we're not. When you join the military, you are being brainwashed, no doubt about it, to the point where you have to be able to follow orders without no question at all. You don't question yourself. You don't question who's giving that order. You just do it. And you, at some level, you are brainwashed when you join the military. You have to understand that. My name is Michael Berry, and I am the Black Veteran.